What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of U4 to Your Eternity Season 2. This is episode 16, and with me, as always, I have Blue Spade.
Yeah. Where to start? There's just a lot that happens in this episode. It's just almost too hard to keep track of. It's just much of this episode is narrated by Fushi's creator, just detailing, certain things that happened in this episode. Basically, like, Fushi's just frankly dealing with the knockers all by himself, while at the same time he's like using his abilities to deal with the knockers in other places. So Fushi tries different ways, not to fatigue himself as much as he did before by frequently switching to different bodies over and over and over again, until it gets to the point where the knockers eventually corner him to the point where he can't transform or escape. And that's where Hyro, Kai, and Messar end up saving him. Apparently, pretty much alive and normal. After they were apparently killed the first time, the last episode.
Yeah, so I guess this is how Fushi is going to realize that he can actually bring people back from the dead. Because we see the way they came back was because Bon had cut them off from the rope that they were all connected to, and that ended up bringing them back to life.
Yeah, and at first Fushi's at shock about this, but of course, he can't really comprehend anything at the moment because the entire battle that's still raging, and apparently it goes on for at least several days, nonstop. And the knockers just try several different ways, to gain the advantage, basically using a trebuchet like far off in the distance, lobbing like spears full of knockers inside of them, until Fushi manages to counter that by sending the three over to where the trebuchet is. What's also funny is no matter how many times any of those three die, they end up being revived numerous times under Fushi.
Yeah, it just gets so ridiculous too, because it even gets to the point where if they just want to get to somewhere faster, they just end up killing themselves so they can come back to life somewhere else. It's just, I don't know. It's so, I really don't like this. I think it's really stupid, honestly.
Okay, another thing I want to point out, if Fushi knew that he could do this for at least several days of while this battle is going on, wouldn't he have revived everybody else at this point?
Well, that's what when I was watching the episode, I was asking myself, what's stopping him from having an army of immortal soldiers? He can probably do that at this point. Just have a bunch of people die and then just resurrect them, and they can never die again. I don't know. This is supposed to be this is another problem I have with season 2 in particular, is that this is supposed to be a really action heavy climactic episode, but it just doesn't feel that way when you watch it. I mean, the animation is just, it was never really that great, but it's just, I don't know what it is. It's just none of it's really that entertaining to me. It's just not exciting in comparison to some other series where, there's a really climactic part of it. There's a lot of action going on, and it could be because of a variety of things. And I feel like the main reason is just because there's no real tension, because all these guys that were dead, they came back to life. They keep coming back to life now. They can't die. Fushi can't die. Why should we really care about what's going on anymore? Because nobody, if all these people die, Fushi could just bring them back, and Fushi's already OP as it is. So he's not struggling against the knockers or anything like that. And neither are these guys that have just come back to life, especially because now they have, they can just keep killing themselves and coming back, and Fushi keeps creating all these weapons and stuff. They're never gonna run out of resources because Fushi's just can create endless resources for them. I don't know. It's just not interesting. It's not entertaining. There's no why should we care as the viewer? That what's going on. I don't know. Maybe that's why. But I just didn't. I really was bored watching most of it because it's just because of those reasons. It's really, I don't know. There's no reason to care, I guess, about what's happening.
Yeah, and of course, by the end of this episode is when Fushi realizes that March is alive. Well, he doesn't see her. He just finds like the handprint that she left behind somewhere, and that's where apparently Fushi realizes that she's alive. But of course, he would have known. I'm surprised he hasn't really figured that out right at this point, because he knows who he can turn himself into, and surprisingly, like he would still have the memory of of March in the first place. But I'm surprised he hasn't figured it out until like right now.
Yeah, I don't know. So we do have the only kind of interesting thing in my opinion that kind of happens in this episode is they apprehend Kahaku because I forget why he cut off one of the arms of somebody because
who was infected by the knocker.
Yeah. And then he starts going on about how like they need to go against, I guess, Fushi's creator because he believes he's manipulating him or something, or he's evil. So I don't know. I'm not really sure. Like, I really don't know where they're going with Kahaku as a character too. Maybe they're going to make him eventually become as crazy as what was it, Ayase? Maybe that's where they're going with him. That he's just going to, because I mean, in the last episode, it seemed like that's what they were kind of trying to imply, that he was starting to go. He's just starting to, I guess, starting to lose it a little bit, and maybe it could also have something to do with the knocker, that it's, inside him that may be influencing him as well. I don't know. I find that kind of interesting, but I don't know. I wonder if that's where they're going with him.
It just kind of came out of nowhere with Kahaku in this episode. I mean,
there's no build up to it, really.
No,
I mean,
like Kahaku, like he's been absent for. I mean, not technically absent, but he's had sporadic appearances ever since that that little incident that he had with Fushi, like trying to make unnecessary advances toward Fushi, and that's where we that was the last notable thing we've seen of Kahaku since then. But then since then, he just like made like small appearances here and there without any notable, other than his the knocker in his left arm. Like there's just nothing notable after that.
Yeah, like he just hasn't really done much. He's mostly just been supporting Fushi, and that's all he's done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just this episode, like it was there was too much going on in this episode, and there was just so many things I just couldn't comprehend about what Fushi is capable of doing at this point.
Yeah, I mean it's really just like, what can't he do? I guess like there's nothing he really can't do. Which just makes, I don't know, I guess you can do that with a character and make him interesting, but the way they did it with Fushi, is just a boring character. Like there's nothing, he has no real weaknesses, except maybe losing his forms or something, I guess. But,
yeah, I mean he did lose his bear form in this episode, but that's like practically.
But he has like the problem now is that he has so many other forms he can use. So I mean that's not really a concern or anything. But yeah, I don't know. I have mixed feelings on this episode, I guess. I don't know. I was kind of, like I said, I was just kind of bored with it. It should have been a really, I guess entertaining episode because of what was happening, but it just wasn't. I don't know how you if you have anything else to say about the episode.
I mean, I'm waiting to see how how the season's going to end. I think we only have like 4 more episodes left, assuming if the episode count is like 20 from what I hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just there's just so many things I just like I had a hard time comprehending of what Fushi is capable of doing, and and things about like what he wasn't able to do despite of what he knows at this point. I mean, he could bring back Gugu and take advantage of his flamethrower ability, or bring back some of his other friends who've already died since the first season. So
Yeah. Well,
what's stopping him from doing that right now?
yeah. Well, the big thing with this episode now is that now Fushi knows that he can resurrect people, that they can come back to life. So I'm really curious as to what he's going to do like after this episode, if he's going to attempt to bring all the friends that have died back to life as well. Because he knows he can do that now, especially now that March is back too. Like I think that's really gonna make him wonder if he can do that. But yeah, I do hope that there, maybe toward the very end the season gets a little bit better, but I am not getting my hopes up, I guess. I mean, I don't know. At this point, it's just I feel like there's just too many problems with the plot, especially with what all these abilities Fushi has now. It makes everything just kind of pointless, honestly. But yeah, I guess that all being said, guys, until next Sunday, we will see you all next time.